To the Commissioners and citizens of Broadwater County, I'm Bill Upthegrove, and I'm here representing Broadwater Health Center, BHC, as their Secretary-Treasurer. In a continuing effort for accountability and transparency to Broadwater County Commissioners and its citizens, we feel it's necessary to provide the following information. The Broadwater Health Center Board wants to assure you that the recent information provided in this mailing from the Ravendals and the Campbells is misleading and false. I'll provide 3 examples as it pertains to the legal and financial relationship between BHC and Broadwater County. It was stated multiple loans have never been repaid. This is absolutely false regarding BHC. All loans held by BHC are current or been forgiven. Since 2012, the hospital's paid off nearly $3.8 million in loans. These hospital loan repayments include the $400,000 which was secured for the hospital in 2012 by Broadwater County. BHC is down to making the last payment on that particular loan. Second point is it was stated that $1.25 million taxpayer bailout in the last 18 months. Again, misleading. The hospital district loaned, not gave, the hospital $750,000 in 2017. Broadwater County, with the use of warrants, helped finance this loan. As the county is aware, $161,801 has already been repaid on these warrants by the hospital. Furthermore, Broadwater County earned for its taxpayers almost $24,000 in interest, which is about double what the county had been making on their CDs. Thirdly, it was stated they're back demanding another $200,000. While demanding nothing, Broadwater Health Center has asked the district board to make repairs to the county-owned building. The district board is asking the voters in the form of a hospital district levy to raise the money for the repairs and capital improvements to the building. We're thankful to Broadwater County for their support and hope they remain dedicated to the good of its citizens in the face of those that seem to want to divide Broadwater County. Operating a not-for-profit critical access hospital needs community support. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Is there any other public comment?
Just
Kyle?
real quick. Kyle Hopson, Administrator at Broadwater Health Center. So I obtained this book, Building Vibrant Communities, and in order to do that, we really need to have a long-term plan, short-term plan. So I would really encourage and would be willing to help in any way to facilitate the gathering of the county, city, BCDC, school, hospital, to really go through a process that identifies as Broadwater County where we want to be 2, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. What do we want to look like? Because if we don't have a plan, we really don't know which direction we're going. And I think if we had a plan that was approved by the interested parties, including the agriculture community, we would be able to at least navigate these waters a little better. So, highly encourage that city, county, BCDC, ag community, hospital, school, come together, and it may take a year to go through the process, but at least we'll have a plan of where we want to be as a community.
Thank you. Dwayne?
Dwayne Hall. Anyway, this deal about the maintenance, this 200, you guys approved the money for the roof and the generator, not probably 2 months ago. Why are we asking for it again?
And we didn't approve generator, it was for the air handling units, right?
Yeah.
Is there any other comment, public comment? Tim?
Yeah, real quick question, has the audit report been delivered yet for this last fiscal year?
For the hospital?
No, for the
For
last
the
fiscal
county.
year with the county?
No, I don't believe so.
It has.
It has?
Yep.
It has.
Oh, did it show up? Okay.
It's
Thank you.
been, when it was delivered, June?
What's
June or
that?
July, it was sent to us June or July.
Oh, it's been there since June or July. Been done. So Debbie you should be able to access any of that stuff through Debbie.
There's also a copy, I understand Cheryl was looking at it in the clerk and recorder's office, you're more than welcome to look at it there.
Okay, thank you. We asked for it, but it wasn't available, so anyway, thank you.
I guess we can go to the Commissioner's update. Let's see, I attended the Rocky Mountain Development Council Financial and Board meeting, the Local Emergency Planning Commission, and the THS Board meetings.
I had a number of Board of Crime Control and Youth Justice Council meetings. Also missed the Solid Waste Board meeting as we had I had an update of the progress with helping the Sheriff's Office with their budget with Bill Jeroki. And I didn't write everything down, BCDC, and a couple others. That's a good start.
Yeah, the LEPC meeting and the solid waste board meeting.
We have minutes here from October 15th. Is there a motion to approve? I'll make a motion to approve minutes October 15th. Is there a second?
I can second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I couldn't make the motion as I wasn't here for that meeting.
We'll move on to the COS reviews.
I'm sorry, Matthew Moog, M-O-O-G.
Oh, that helps. Thank
Yeah.
you. So it looks like you're taking a 10-acre and dividing it into two?
No, it's, the lots are, staying the same, the boundaries aren't changing at all. It's just we're, amending the, future, road easement, that went through the property there. It was, as you can see, there's a foundation that lies within the current easement there. The owner wasn't aware that there was a future road easement, and the foundation's already been built. We're just relocating that future road easement to accommodate the situation.
So this was where the road originally planned. was
Correct,
signed,
yes.
Yeah. Is the owner of lot 33 good with this?
Yes, he's here today. Chris and Melissa.
Okay.
They own both those tracks and both the tracks to the east as well.
Oh, okay. All right. With that, I will move to support the COS as presented.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Motion's been made and second to approve the Rolling Glen Ranch subdivision lot 33 and 34 COS. All in favor?
I,
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you so much, guys.
there's a sheet of paper that we generally sign.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
It's
all right.
back over here.
It's a different, structure than other counties have, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we just do that to confuse you, keep you on your toes. Thanks. Or keep us on our toes. Or both.
Thank you so
And
much.
then Ann needs to sign it as
Oh,
well.
I'm sorry. There you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Did you have any?
Yes, I do. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is a family transfer on Highway 287 and Springville Lane. And the road, Springville Lane cuts this parcel right in half, or not in half, but, so what they're doing is, they're giving this part to their daughter and using the road center line, as a convenient boundary.
Sure. It doesn't look like an invasion of subdivision. I'll move to support the family transfer as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and second to support the family land transfer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bernadette.
We will entertain a motion to approve the adjusted journal entries for June.
I reviewed those last week. Were they also reviewed by individually? All right, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Motion been made and second to approve the June journal adjustment entries. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carried. And we'll move on to our 10:15 WWC Engineering Deep Creek Project update. These just go back really
Yeah, you need to sign that, the vote to approve them.
well. This one?
Yeah.
Right on time.
We ready? Okay. We are just wrapping up the Deep Creek project. What you have in front of here is basically the kind of wrap up on that Tim Wilson portion of Reach 15. Long and the short of it, we've been reimbursed for the total amount that the county put out on that project, plus a net of $1,207, which Mr. Wilson put out an extra $1,200 to pay BSC to do additional work. And he actually met his 25% match over and above. So we can reimburse his $1,200.
Okay.
So that's already been paid by FEMA back to the county. So we got the 13 whatever that the county paid to BSE plus that extra $1,200 in back in reimbursement. And so basically that's what that letter of recommendation, the letter recommends, what you're seeing before you. As far as the rest of the project, guardrail's been installed on Clopton, Carson, and Lightning Barn Lane. I think there's just a few miscellaneous items that Mary and I went over here a couple of weeks ago, as far as just kind of checklist things to kind of clean up the roadways and get that done. So that'll be additional match reimbursement that'll be coming back. The one piece of the project that was not completed is the Antonik portion. If you remember, basically he had, since that 2011 flood, I think what it did is it just opened up and probably an old gravel, stream bed that went basically right to his foundation. And he was still getting water in his crawl space down there. And I think it would be difficult to fix. I think he knows that. He's been fairly unresponsive. I know he's a busy guy, but I just don't think he wants to really participate. So I'm gonna try to get a hold of him and verify that he does not want to participate, and then we'll probably send a request to FEMA to remove that portion of the project. So try to get that done here probably within the next month, and then that way we can get the project fairly well closed out and done. So it's almost 2019 from the 2011 project, so it's definitely time. So other than that, I think that's kind of where we're at. Did I cover it? Any questions?
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion, Tim?
Yeah, Sean, what is the total as of date for the spending on the project?
I think the total project cost, you probably know that better than I do.
Don't have the numbers with me. Answer that correctly.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but the original was somewhere around 1.7 million, and it shrank to, I think, just around $1 million total.
Thank you.
Yep.
And Sean, can you explain that structure so that it's not misunderstood that the county found $1 million to spend?
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, basically the grant was for mitigation of flood impacts from the 2011 flooding. 1.7 million was awarded, right, which FEMA was gonna basically back up and pay 75% of that amount. So the county was only on the hook realistically for their portion of the project, which included the three bridges, which included Clopton, Lightning Barn, and Carson Lane. Their portion of that project to put that infrastructure in was 25%, and they were able to do that through cash and in-kind services that the county crews were able to put together. So, makes sense.
So relatively speaking, that was vastly mostly, in-kind matching
Correct.
grants, with just a small amount of cash for the
Yeah,
county.
it was a cheap project to replace bridges for the county. That's, in the end, that's really, it was a great deal.
Huge project that we got a lot of bang for the buck
Yeah,
from.
huge. It was painful going through the FEMA project, but for something like that where you're replacing three bridges, it's worth the extra pain and suffering to do all the documentation through FEMA.
Yeah.
You just need to keep that in the file, right?
Yeah, I think we need to actually vote on this, do we not, for Mr. Wilson? Or was that handled last time? The 15th?
No, it was not handled.
Probably wouldn't hurt to do that. I mean, it's probably covered, but wouldn't hurt to just cover it again.
Okay, And this would be based on the last sentence in your email, that this is absolutely no expenditure to the county.
Absolutely, that's correct.
So I will move that we reimburse Mr. Wilson the $1,207 that he overpaid.
1,200.
1,200. All right, that he overpaid to BSC over what was agreed upon and reimbursed.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and second to reimburse Mr. Wilson for the overpayment on the Deep Creek project. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carried.
I think that's all I have for you today, unless there's any other questions about the Deep Creek project.
No,
Okay.
thank you.
You bet.
Again, it was a good project, good bang for the buck.
Absolutely. Yeah, when we can get those projects for the county, that's, it's great for the citizens. You know, they're getting a lot of infrastructure for a very modest price.
Yeah.
Okay?
We have some claims here in the amount of $181,241.37. Thank you, guys. And 37 cents.
Can you repeat the total, please?
Is there a second? What's-
What was the total? I'm sorry, I missed it.
$181,241.37.
I will move to pay the approved claims in the amount of $181,241.37.
I'll second.
Motion been made and second to pay claims and set them out. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Have a contract between Rocky Mountain Agency on Aging in Broadwater County for provisions of home care services to the elderly. $19,213.
That's an ongoing contract. We've had it for years. I will move that we sign another year with RMDC. They do an awesome job for us and our citizens.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made, seconded to sign the contract. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Have a letter from the Department of Public Health and Human Services. A report on the waters at the silos, total chloroform absent, E. coli absent. Department of Environmental Quality. City of East Helena wastewater treatment plant. Department of Environmental Quality, City of Great Falls wastewater treatment plant. Montana Department of Commerce, Community Development Division. Greetings, recently Broadwater County received notice of a planning grant for the Community Development Block Grant Program, CDBG, authorizing grant funds for a growth policy update, capital improvement plans update, and a floodplain ordinance update. Community Development Division staff are excited to begin working with Broadwater County to complete the project. revenue budget reports for the interfund operation transfers, comp insurance, and economic development. Maintenance agreement with Copier Doctors for cure your copier sales incorporated in the Treasury Department. Letter from the tree board continuing request for continued county PILT funding. Cost estimated for removing dead limbs from the fairgrounds of $3,035.50. Cost was covered by a $2,000 PILT grant.
Another big thing for our buck.
Yeah. The annual agreement for connection to the Montana PBS program servicing starting July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019.
It's also continuing, I move we sign for the service with PBS. It is free for the county.
Motion's been made to sign contracts with PBS Broadcasting. Is there a second?
A second.
Motion's been made, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. So we go here, where do we sign?
I think we're the distributor, so right there. And there's two of them, we keep one and we send one on.
We fill this out or is Charlie
Yeah.
filling stuff?
That would be us.
Okay, let's see, 10:30, we will move on to Allison Costco, Extension Agent, monthly update.
Good morning.
Morning, Allison.
Okay, got lots to talk about. Feels like it's been a while since I've been here. First thing I'll share is I started doing this last year, and this is just a kind of just summary of our 4-H enrollment history. One more if anyone else really wants it. We finished up our 4-H year. It runs from October 1st through September 30th. So we just finished, I guess it's been almost a month now. And so at the end of the 4-H year is when I put together kind of the numbers of kind of where we were at for the year and compare that to the past years. We continue to grow by leaps and bounds, as you can see. In the past 4 years, I've only included 4 years here, but in the past 4 years, youth enrollment in organized clubs has grown by 40%. Adult volunteer involvement has grown by 95%. It does look like it's a little bit down from last year, but for volunteer numbers, but last year's numbers were a little bit inflated. We had to, we hosted the Interstate Exchange program from Virginia. So we have a group of kids from Virginia who come and they stay here for a week. And the homes that those kids stay in, we have to have all the adults, anyone over 18 who is in that home, be background checked. So it means they have to become a certified volunteer. So that's why last year's number was a little bit higher, because many of those adults didn't really have a reason to continue on as a certified volunteer. They're not hosting a family again. So really the number from this year of 41 adult volunteers is much more accurate, actually, than last year. And still looking over the last 4 years, our adult volunteer numbers have grown by 95%, which is really important to note, because when you have growth in kids, if you don't have growth in volunteers at the same time, you don't have a place and a way to actively engage them in the program. So it's pretty exciting. We've also continued to find ways other than organized clubs to reach youth, and so we do that through camping programs, special interest programs, and school enrichment programs. So we kind of included those numbers as well. And then for fun, I also included the breakdown of the demographics of the kids and kind of what their interests are. Interestingly, I noticed in the last 4 years, we've seen an increase of youth that are living in more of a town setting than on a farm or ranch, which I view as a good thing. We've really been focusing a lot on improving the educational opportunities in the 4-H indoor projects that would appeal more to the city kids or the town kids than more of the rural kids. And so that's definitely reflected in our numbers, and so that to me is a very positive thing as we strive to have a program that's open to any youth in the county that's interested. So it's good. We have started the re-enrollment process for the next year, 2018-19, and actually re-enrollment is due this week. November 1st is what we ask, and we, I think, continue to see an increase. Specifically this year, I've seen a really large increase in interest from the Wheatland area, and that has been a trend that's been going on for a while. That club down there is very large. And I've been in conversation with that club leader at maybe looking at, maybe not this year, but perhaps next fall, at splitting into 2 clubs. I think it's time. I've thought that for a little while, but I think they're finally starting to see that because we do continue to see an increase of interest in that part of the county. We still do, we had a new club form in Townsend last year. It's struggling a little bit. Getting a new club going, especially when they're small, is kind of a struggle. So I'm hoping they'll stick it out another year, and we can kind of encourage some new membership in that club. So a lot going on, and working hard to try to keep pace with the growth. Katria is taking on some additional 4-H responsibilities, which I think I discussed with you before she was hired. And so that's been going pretty well. She's been going to some meetings and slowly kind of taking on some responsibilities as she becomes more comfortable with the program. So hopefully we can continue to make that happen. So any questions on 4-H before I move on? Okay.
No, congratulations, you're making great strides in an exceptional program.
Yeah, it's out of control, but that's good. It's good problems. Good problems is what I like to say. I like to see the energy. So this is another thing that I'm really excited about. A few weeks ago, or maybe it's been a month now, I went to training to become a certified facilitator in Real Colors. Have any of you done Real Colors before? No. Well, I'm really excited about it. So Real Colors is it's a national, actually I think it's international organization it's a temperament assessment and training. So it helps people learn to understand your temperament and your personality a little bit better, but also how to work with others better, how to improve communication, how to understand behavior, ultimately hoping to improve teamwork, how people are motivated and how to meet them on the level that they're at. So it's just a phenomenal training. We use it a ton in Extension and in 4-H. And so I'm really excited to be a certified facilitator, so that means I can bring it to our community. And it can be used with businesses, organizations, boards, anyone who wants to do it. And being that I'm doing it on the job, it can be very low cost. Basically, I would just ask people to help me with supplies. And so it can be very reasonable. If you bring in like a national certified training, it can be very expensive. So, and this can be done very low cost locally. So I'm very excited. I really haven't, this is like my first time I've really shared this because I haven't had a chance yet. But if you think of folks in the community that would benefit, maybe even think about if this is something that county employees or county boards would benefit from, I'd love to do it. So, think about it. If you have questions, come visit and I can tell you a little bit more. You can even Google Real Colors. They have a website, and there's a similar program called True Colors, but this is Real Colors that you can get more information on as well. So, any questions or thoughts on that?
No, it sounds excellent though, it sounds timely,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah, I think it always, I think you can always, at least in my opinion, always find ways to better yourself and continue to work together and build the rapport you have in the community. So, very excited about it, and I hope that we can find some ways in our community to bring it here. Okay. And let's see, what do I have next? Oh, I got lots of stuff. So busy. So we're kind of switching into my winter programming mode is what I call it, where we just have a lot of classes and whatnot. We had the first one of the season a couple weeks ago. It was on exempt water rights at the library community room, and we had over 40 people attended. So it was very well attended. Jim Beck taught it, or gave a presentation. There was lots of questions. We also had a rep there from DNRC, who was also very helpful in answering a lot of questions, and it was a really good workshop. So that was well attended. We have quite a few things on the agenda for the winter. Starting in December 4th, I don't have a save the date with me today, but hopefully soon. On December 4th, I've been working with Jessica Bushnell to partner on a noxious weed management workshop. So we'll offer pesticide applicator credits for that training, but also provide some educational activities related to noxious weed management. We have a biological control specialist coming. We'll also kind of look at economic impact of weeds, some of the new ones to watch out for. We'll offer some core training too for credits, but different things like that. Hopefully to have that finalized maybe by the end of the week if we're lucky. And then following quickly behind that, I'll do my annual Rancher Roundtable programs. I'm just doing 2 this year because I have a lot of other things going on. So on December 17th, we're doing a herd health protocol workshop with Dr. Will Oliver with Shooteside Vet out of Three Forks. And then on January 8th, we're doing kind of a genomics 2.0 with Dr. John Patterson, who works for Neogen Genomics. He's also a past extension beef specialist. So those are kind of our beef topics for the year. And I had a flyer for that, but now I already have to make changes, so I didn't make copies for you. That's kind of how it works. End of January, January 29th, doing a couple estate planning workshops. So I've been starting to get more requests. Dr. Marcia Getting, who is a national renowned expert in estate planning, she's an MSU extension specialist, is coming, and she's going to do 2 different workshops. One will be more focused on basics, open to anyone. She'll talk about wills, probate. I think she'll talk about whatever we want. I'm supposed to get her a list of some things. So if you have ideas, let me know. I've kind of been working on a list. And then in the evening or late afternoon, we'll do one that's focused on farm and ranch succession planning. So that'll be the second one. So people can come to both, or they can come to one. It won't matter. But we'll offer 2 throughout the day. Probably maybe a lunch early afternoon and then like a late afternoon evening program. So that runs up January. February is going to be our annual crop school, which we do at Three Forks. We have our first planning meeting tomorrow, so I don't have a date for that yet, but we usually do that mid to late February. So that'll be happening. And I'll just stop there. I have other things in the works too, but those are the concrete things that are on the calendar. And then hopefully maybe I can update you on some of the other more long-term projects that I'm working on next time when I have a few more details. So, yeah, what do you think? Questions, comments, concerns?
Concerned about the number of hours in the day, Allison.
I know, sometimes
Beyond
I
that, I'm excited. I think you're doing an excellent job. Just really phenomenal, so thank you.
Got a lot going on. I do, just kind of give you a heads up, have some of my own professional development going on, a few trainings in November, which I didn't have much on the November calendar because I'll be gone quite a bit in November. And then, this is kind of the time of year for me to get some of that in. But I'll still be around, and that's why I'm trying to get a lot of this worked out before I'll be gone a lot. I was gone last week too, so. But you know where to find me if you need anything or have some ideas for me. Would love to hear them. Okay.
Thanks, Allison.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning, my apologies.
10:45, Mary Hendrickson, Public Works Supervisor, Solid Waste Interlocal Agreement.
All right, so what I have before you is the final interlocal. I don't know if you want me to go through it specifically. Corey worked with Lewis and Clark County Attorney on the language in here, and Corey's latest communication to me said that he didn't have any issues with it. So this is the final interlocal agreement to utilize Lewis and Clark County landfill for our solid waste disposal. The rate will be $26 a ton. And we would have a the agreement wouldn't be effective until 45 days. Lewis and Clark County needs to do some things internally with their computer system, and it's going to take them about that long to do that. So my request to you today is to do a final approval on this interlocal agreement, and we can start that signature process with Lewis and Clark County as well.
Is there any discussion?
Not from me.
So this is basically a 3-year contract, but we wouldn't be starting until probably the middle of December. But it's based on a fiscal year, so the agreement would end or be up for renewal June 30th of 2021.
Is there any adjustment in this contract if we cut back on how much we're hauling?
No.
Through our distribution, through our suck rating and stuff?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not. That is one thing that I clarified with Lewis and Clark County. It was just an average tonnage that they used as the estimate to determine the tipping fee. But we're not held to that. We're not held to a specific tonnage on this.
Okay.
I'd move we sign this interlocal agreement. And get this.
Is there a second?
Yes, I second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to sign the interlocal agreement with Lewis and Clark County for solid waste. Any further discussion?
I just have a quick comment. I am going to vote for this. I've talked to Mary about this. I do believe that government should not compete with private business or undercut private business. I also understand the law gives us the ability to work with Lewis and Clark County, and they are giving us a less expensive rate. I look forward to Mary showing me what those savings are, and I respect the work that the board did on this, so I am giving it an affirmative vote.
Thank you.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Go forth and conquer, Mary.
Thank you very much.
And board.
Do we wanna move ahead with this policies and guidelines?
Could.
Okay, so we'll go to our next item, board policies and guidelines decision.
So this came out of, this has been lingering for a while, and it came out of some events that happened in the last couple of weeks that have made this kind of a glaring issue we need to take care of. We've been spending a lot of time just putting out fires when they erupt, and it's due more than anything else just to lack of personnel and resources. We really do need 3 working commissioners because there's a workload that requires 3 working commissioners. This cannot be postponed, it needs to be addressed. This comes out of the training we did about 2 years ago with Dan Clark from the local government center. And I'd also like to invite him back after the beginning of the new year. We have a full commission and we're able to really help engage our boards as a team. So what needs to be addressed, in my opinion, immediately is all meetings must be advertised a minimum of 48 hours prior to the meeting. That is not done by all our boards, and it's required. So I think just a reminder on that. Minutes must be taken and kept in the clerk and recorder's office. Anybody should be able to walk in and view minutes for the various boards right there in the clerk and recorder's office. Code of ethics. We discussed this about 6 months ago, maybe 9 months ago now. And just again, lack of time didn't put it together, but no board may give or receive a gift to a board member in the amount of $50 or more. That is a violation of Montana state law. We did have that happen, and we need to send a reminder to that board as well as all the others that it's not allowed. As a way of saying thank you, we discussed already allowing a board to have an end of the year dinner party, not something extravagant, certainly not including alcohol, but a pizza party or donuts or hamburgers at the Big Bowl. Something along those lines the county can pay for, but $50 per member gifts, no. Proxy voting, we discussed this in one of the board meetings. Proxy voting for the commission is not allowed. It's also not allowed for board members, and the reason is if you give a proxy vote to somebody else to go into a meeting with, you have not taken into consideration the public participation that citizens are allowed by the Constitution. Stop me if I'm going too fast. Email voting is not allowed, and that's the same idea. The public has a right to participate, and if a board has a meeting where they vote by email, there is no participation allowed because nobody else is on the email. Nonprofits have policies for email voting. We can talk about those, but for the county, they probably at this time do not apply. We do have the ability with our TV in the back of the room. We also have the ability with conference calls and a phone in this room that you could have the chair or a secretary of the board here at a meeting and everybody else phone in. So email isn't required. That's also one that MACO would support is the email voting. I have that email. That also does not preclude a board from email communication. So if they're writing a letter, if they're working on bylaws, certainly email for editing the document is a great idea and a great tool to use. All boards should have bylaws and update those annually, just at least review them. We do have an example set from the Local Government Center from Dan Clark that we can share with everybody, and we can also share other boards' bylaws. It's not a heavy lift. Board members, this came up a couple weeks ago, board members, when they represent the board, they must represent what the board has decided. So if there's a vote and it's 3-2 or 2-1, and the board decides to paint the wall red, and somebody asks a board member about that vote, answer to the public, the press, whomever is, yes, the board decided to paint the wall red. And if you have a strong character, you say the reasons why. This is what they said, whether or not you agree or not. During the Mako training, there was an example in Hill County where a commission board had a 2-1 vote. The chair happened to be of the dissenting vote, so he was the standalone one. The newspaper afterwards, this was Haver, asked him about the vote. And he came right out and said, the commission voted affirmably to do this, and these are the reasons why, and he stated all the positive answers behind it. Even though he had voted no, he spoke for the commission as a whole. And at a training, this was years later when he had retired, the respect that his fellow commissioners spoke about him and sharing that example spoke volumes for the type of person he was and the work he had done in representing his county. So, just a little flavor. Also, if you are going to speak for a board and not be a member of the board, you must be tasked by the board with doing so. All contracts signed by boards need to come to the commission for signature. Boards may not sign contracts. Also, all expenditures must be brought to the commission. The budget is our responsibility. Those are not on the sheet that I sent, and that's been posted. I just added those today. Any thoughts on these? And if anybody has any questions, I'm certainly, Al, open to what those are.
Thank you. I do have a couple comments on this that I would like to share with you. I would like to have you either under the Code of Ethics or a conflict of interest clause really strengthen this issue of people on boards and whether they are in a position to influence things that can affect their business or their personal abilities to do things. I think that's critical. And it really, I think it falls a lot on you as you pick board members on how you look at that, because it's in a smaller county like this, certainly the opportunity is there a lot. So I would encourage you to strengthen that as much as you can. I also believe that when these boards are appointed, either you provide them with a mission statement as to why you have a board, why they exist. And that should be included in their bylaws. But I think you should have a statement in here that a new member should be either provided or understand what that mission and purpose of that board is. Your bylaws, I hope all the boards have bylaws, because those things, and you've got in here, they should be reviewed annually. That's great, but I think you need to add some accountability for how that happens. Either those bylaws need to say right on them, they were revised, they were reviewed and approved, and a date annually that happens. Because I can tell you from experience, you get into discussions, well, we talked about that 2 years ago. I said, well, the last date here is, 15 years ago. So I think that you need to provide that accountability in there about document any revisions, the revision dates or review dates need to be on those bylaws. So they actually should come to you, so you see that every year from all the boards. That would be your part of the accountability for it. You got in here about the minutes need to come to the county. When? How soon? Do they need to be there within a week? Do they need to be there within 2 weeks? I think you need to put a time frame in there so there's some accountability for when that happens. Otherwise, 12th month, they show up in a package. I don't think that's what you're really looking for. I would also, whether it's a statement in here or what you do, but I believe that every time you appoint a new board member, you should provide that board member with the bylaws and a copy of this document so that every person comes into those boards at least with some level of understanding of what they do, how they operate, and what your expectations of that board and every member on that board is. I don't think that happens now. And so what it faults to is power of information. People that have it and have been on the boards know all that stuff, and if they choose not to share it, it becomes a power of information issue. So I would encourage you to add those kind of things in there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Al, I really appreciate that.
Could I just ask for a quick review of what boards you're talking about generally the county has?
Yes, I'll miss some. Airport, Trust Board, Recreation Board,
Solid waste,
yeah,
weed, mosquito,
LEPC,
THS, although that's not our board.
Hospital
The
district?
district board would be.
that's not ours. We'll share the information with you and the fire district, those would be separate political subdivisions. Library
Planning.
Board, Board of Health Planning Board. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, you bet.
You know, I think a lot of it relates back to something that we discussed earlier, was our county website.
Mhm.
I mean, that's where people are gonna want to find this information, so.
Excellent point, thank you.
Yeah, Shirley?
Shirley Wilson, I just, on the agenda, it says we're going to propose these changes or updates, and we're going to decide. Has anyone seen them other than Laura today?
Mhm.
And don't we have 3 working commissioners? I just think, particularly since the last thing that came before the board that Laura had written up, there was some words that weren't good. I just think maybe we need to read through these more than just appearing and approving. It's my opinion.
And what Shirley references is 2 spelling errors. I had
It was not a
put-
spelling error, it was a misuse of words.
Well, it was a spelling error. It was supposed to be unanimous and it was anonymous, or vice versa. But, yeah, thanks to Ann, she caught a number of grammatical errors, and these were shared. So, any thoughts, Mike?
I guess I just think that they should be read over before approved.
Always, yeah, thank you.
I guess I would have the email voting deal. And this stems from the trust board, and that they have a meeting with a public discussion. And then they go home and then they vote a couple days, they vote by